Hello there, Jody here, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be giving a spoiler-free review on the latest book that I've read. So I'll go over what the book is about, share my thoughts on the book, my star rating, as well as is this a book I would recommend. So without any further ado, let's get on to today's spoiler-free book review, and that would be for the book The Lions of Fifth Avenue by Fiona Davis, which is a book that is actually in Good Morning America's book club, and this is the first book in Good Morning America's book club that I have read as well. But now on to what the book is about. So The Lions of Fifth Avenue has a story in it that follows two timelines. The first timeline in the book takes place in New York City in 1913, where we are following Laura Lyons. Laura and her family live in an apartment above the New York Public Library, and the reason for that is Laura's husband Jack works as the superintendent of the library, and at that time that position provided housing. During Jack's time working there, at some point, books suddenly start to go missing. The other timeline that we follow in the story takes place once again in New York City, but this time now in 1993, where we are now following Laura's granddaughter Sadie, who works at the New York Public Library as a librarian, and who is working in a department of the library that is putting together an exhibit for the library. As Sadie and her colleagues are putting together the exhibit, just like in 1913, books once again start to go missing. So despite the two timelines being decades and decades and decades apart, Sadie feels somehow that there's a connection between the books that went missing in 1913 and 1993, and she is determined more than anything to find out what that connection is. So this is the first book by Fiona Davis that I've read. Definitely interested in reading more from this author now that I've read one of their books. And the next book by this author that I would probably read is The Spectacular, which I believe is the next book that Fiona Davis wrote after The Lions of Fifth Avenue. In the back of this book, the first chapter of The Spectacular is included. I read it and was intrigued. I don't currently have the book at the moment, so who knows when I'll get around to reading it. But if I had to pick my next Fiona Davis book to read, it would probably be The Spectacular, because the first chapter did seem pretty interesting. So now on to my thoughts on the book. To start off, I really liked this book, and now I'll go on and talk about what I liked about it. One of the things I really liked about this book was the writing. Fiona Davis is just such an incredible writer, whose writing in this book just takes you on a journey back and forth in time. Fiona Davis is an incredible writer, like I said, but who wrote a really great historical fiction book here that was interesting, engaging, and a lot of fun to read. A lot of fun to read in regard to talking about a historical fiction book that I read is something I never thought I would say, as historical fiction has never been my go-to genre when it comes to reading. But I had a really great time reading this book, and the writing in this book was a big reason for that. Another thing I liked about the book was the story. This was an incredible story that at times lifted up your spirits and then at times tugged at your heartstrings. This is a story about family, history, and about not letting past experiences hold you back from living your life. The story at times is a very sad and tragic one about missed opportunities and things left unsaid, about loss, about regret, about not getting to live your life out in the open because the world won't accept you for you. But it's also very much a story about how starting over again is possible, about not giving up on yourself, and about connection and unconditional love. I thought the explanation of how the two timelines in the book connected to one another was very well done. It was very much a full circle moment in the book when that connection is revealed, and it is just a truly heartbreaking moment in the story. I also really liked the characters in the book. All the characters were very well written and very three-dimensional. You felt everything in the book that the characters felt. You felt their highs, their lows, their moments of joy and happiness, as well as their moments of heartbreak and sorrow. Sadie is a character that I really connected to. When we first meet Sadie, she's very much someone who let something that happened in her past affect her to the point where it made her look at herself a certain way and adjust how she should live her life from that moment on. I feel in this aspect, Sadie is a very relatable character because sometimes there are moments in our lives that we let tear us down, that we allow to break us and break our spirit. And in turn, that ultimately keeps us from truly living our lives because we allowed that moment of hurt to define us and to define our future. Sadie had been living in her own little bubble for so long, thinking that that was what she wanted, thinking that that was what was best for her. When the books of the library start to go missing, this very much wakes Sadie up and has her look at her own life, where she sees how she's been living in many ways closed off from the world. She finds herself no longer wanting to live in her own little corner anymore just because there's less chance of getting hurt there when you don't let anyone in. She realizes how she wants to experience life fully, take chances, make mistakes. She wants to live, she wants to love, and she wants to live a life no longer sitting on the sidelines watching as the world passes her by. The last thing I liked about the book was the story setting. A good portion of the story takes place at the New York Public Library, which is just such an incredible landmark. I used to go to the city quite often to see theater, and the New York Public Library is a place that I would pass quite often when I was there. Every time you're there, you just take a moment to take it all in. The architecture of the building, the lion statues on display out in the front, it's all just so beautiful and remarkable. years ago, before I went to see a show, there was some time before the show, and so I went into the library, and it was just such an incredible experience getting to be in a place just so full of culture and history, and it was really cool reading about a place in a book that I've actually been to in person. So now for my star rating. I gave this book 5 stars. I really like this book. This book definitely made me interested in reading more historical fiction, which is something I never thought I would ever say, but it just goes to show you, you should take that chance every once in a while and read out of your comfort zone. So now for, is this a book I recommend? Yes, I would recommend this book to read. The Lions of Fifth Avenue is very much a book that once you pick it up to read, you don't want to put it down. I would say if you're someone who doesn't think historical fiction is for you, or who normally doesn't go for historical fiction when picking a book to read, I would say this book may change your mind on the genre. It was truly an excellent read. It was interesting. It was emotional. This is a book that makes you feel something. This is a book that will break your heart, while at the same time also giving you hope. And this book is very much also an on the edge of your seat page turner as well, because of the mystery within the book about the missing books. And I would also highly recommend this book if you like stories about books as well. And lastly, this book doesn't have an adaptation, and I don't believe one is in the works as of now yet either, but I must say this book would be excellent book to adapt. As I was reading the book, the story just really felt to me like it would work great as a film. So hopefully one day that happens. But that's going to be it for today's video. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to take the time to say thank you so much for taking the time to watch my spoiler-free review on The Lions of Fifth Avenue by Fiona Davis. And I hope I helped you discover a new book today along the way as well. And until next time, bye.